Hi, the Black Talk Media Project would like to invite you to become a member of the BTR Community subscription-based social media platform. BTR Community is a platform that was set up for the listening audience of Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent black radio network online. For just $24 per year, your subscription gives you access to an interactive space to share information with like-minded people with your privacy guaranteed. Your subscription will go a long way to help us maintain and improve our current media platforms. It will also help provide a budget so that we can begin the task of establishing localized media centers and radio stations across the United States. The best way to show your support and appreciation for what we do here at Black Talk Radio is to subscribe. Help us to help you be informed. Join btrcommunity.com today.
The views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. Today is April the 16th, 2017. We have a live show for you today on this Monday. And I just want to sincerely thank you all for listening to Thando Radio Show, being a part of the network. I greatly appreciate every single one of you all. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into today's show, but let me just say this before we get going. Just shortly before starting today's show, I was actually getting ready for today's show and was speaking with a friend and two young ladies driving on one of the go-karts without any helmets. And they were driving on the street, and, oh, man, the driver lost control of the go-kart, and the young lady smashed, and the passenger was a young lady, smashed right into full speed without any braking, right into the back of a pickup truck and hit the fender face first. And, oh, man, and this happened right in front of me and my friend, probably about no more than 15 feet from us, and we watched this whole thing start to finish, her make impact. And my first thought was, this baby not going to make it. And I'm going to tell you that the great Creator is good, because this young lady hits this fender in this go-kart doing roughly about 25 miles per hour, no helmet, running face first into the back of the truck. I know right away I need to go run and get some of my first aid stuff call 911, take care of that. My buddy runs to aid the young lady. I run to go get my stuff. And come out, and this young lady, I absolutely love the spirit and the strength that the great Creator has given us all. This young lady is hurt, but never lost consciousness. I don't even think that she has a concussion. Bit her tongue, and that was about it. And I was like, this is more than just a miracle. There's no way in the world, with the impact that this young lady had, that this could be it. And I'm just going to send my energy out for that to be it. And I'm telling you, it happened all like just 25 minutes ago. And I just knew there was no way in the world I was going to be on the show. Wasn't even thinking about the show. But as I think about it, there's no way in the world I should be on Thando right now. Because I'm thinking that we would have been battling to keep this young lady just breathing. And thank the great Creator. I'm going to tell you, my little problems that I've always known were real little problems compared to things that could happen and everything else, just was given a stark reminder of how precious each one of us are and how strong we all can be. And I think that we fight for all the wrong reasons, and we lose sight of what we really could do and what we're really capable of. Man, I'm going to tell you, there is truly a blessing to being young. If it was an older person that hit that car, that truck at that speed with no helmet, and the young lady didn't even have time to brace. So that was one of the things that really, it was so quick and so fast and so violent that the young lady didn't even have time to. Only thing she could do was just close her eyes. She didn't even have time to brace, and that she hit the vehicle completely relaxed, and that really did save her. Because if she would have tensed up, her trauma could have been much more extensive. So I say that for this reason: never scared, always prepared. Never know whatever can happen. Always have a plan and always be able to respond immediately. And that is very, very important, because you never know who will be dependent on you. Could be your children, could be someone else's children, could be you, could be a friend of yours or a family member. So, and always be careful of things. There's no way in the world that these young people should have been driving that go-kart without any helmet that fast on the streets. And so I'm just glad that all's well that ended well. So with that being said, I'm going to get into
Dave.
Today's show.
Dave.
So really quickly.
Dave, you there?
Yes, go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, man. Somebody got killed here in Gaston County, head-on collision with a drunk driver, and the only person to survive was the drunk driver. Isn't that always the case? Because the drunk person is limber, and they just go with wherever, the energy takes them, man, which prevents injuries. But, it's just so sad, man, that people continue to drink and drive and kill people. You know what I'm saying? It could have happened to anybody. Something like that. I read something like that happened to in my county. First thing I'm thinking, or the next county over. I hope my children wasn't involved. I hope nobody I knew was involved. Just happening too much, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Scotty. You always want, that's the first thing that happens. And you're right when you said that, that's because they're limber, they don't tense up and everything else. And I know that that's what saved this young lady, because I watched her coming down the street at the speed she was coming, me and my friend, and we kind of, without saying anything, like, oh, this is not going to end well. And then the young lady lost control of the car, going between the cars, and she just, without braking, full throttle, just went straight into the back of the pickup truck. The passenger hit it head on, actually dented the metal fender with her head of the truck. She had no time, and you're absolutely right, because she didn't have time to tense up. And so that allowed her body to go where the force was going, the path of least resistance, to let that energy go back out instead of tensing up. Now her neck is broken. So it's so funny how that works. I'm just glad in this case, and I'm really hate to hear that, because that does happen a whole lot. And I would definitely say, try to have something have a first aid kit in your vehicle. You know I'm going to say that because that's what we do here. Have something in your vehicle, because you never know what can happen. Be able to respond to just the basics of first aid, okay? So we would just check her breathing, make sure she was conscious and breathing, put her on her side. Don't want to handle her too much, because we know she had a head injury, and just kept her talking and make sure she didn't go to sleep on us. And so yeah, it's that drunk driving stuff happens all the time, and you just want to be able to, that's one of the things that we wish could be mitigated, so we don't have to deal with that. And there's no reason for that. If you're going to be drinking, don't drive. Don't drive. And a lot of people have done that, and luckily have gotten away with it. But we never really get away with it. We never really do. It's because it's in reinforcing a bad habit until something goes terribly wrong. So don't do that. Don't drink and drive. Don't drive and high. Driving high just as bad. Okay? So under the influence of something. So with that being said, everyone, please continue to support Thando Radio Show and Black Talk Radio Network, mainly Black Talk Radio Network, by going to and making a donation to Black Talk Radio Network. And you can do that at www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. Hit the donation prompt, or you can become a supporter of this network by becoming a member in BTR Community. BTR Community is a social media network that Black Talk Radio Network has put together for you to engage in all of your social media activities without being as adversely affected. $24 a year gets you membership, $24 a year. And there's also a free trial period that you can go through during that time, 30-day free trial period, so you can see how the platform works. And then you could post things about your business, things that are important to you, things that you would like to convey, your thoughts, things that you would like to comment on, events that you think need to be highlighted and be given more exposure. You could do that there. And BTR Community. It is a more holistic way to engage in social media activities without being as adversely affected. So definitely please support the network by doing that. So that being said, also, if you would like to acquire real money, definitely do that by exchanging your Federal Reserve notes for real money, and you could do that by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com, blacktalkradionetwork.com. And once you do that, you'll be able to save as a king or queen or as a lady and a gentleman. So do that. Make sure you email info@prosperitymint.com, and we'll definitely get to you. So there's a couple of people I need to get back to. I will get to you. Yeah, Brother Keith, I will definitely get with you. Got kind of busy today, and so couldn't, but we'll definitely get with you all. All right, so let me see, jump into what's in the news. 1 second here. Let me get myself situated here. I came in late because of the incident, the accident that happened right in front of me. So just bear with me. Let me set up. All right. So today's show is Monday the 16th, 2018. The topic is in the aftermath. And the aftermath is from what happened over the weekend. Knew it was going to probably happen sometime relatively soon. And I want to just say this. On Friday, right after Thando radio show, the U.S. had engaged in attacking Syria. And so just before during the show, I said that there was talks that the Secretary of Defense, the celebrity figurehead Secretary of Defense, Mattis, former Marine, a retired Marine general, 4-star general, and Dunsford, the Joint Chief of Staff, also a Marine general, was actually contesting celebrity figurehead President Trump and National Security Advisor Bolton and their overall attack of Syria. And my thought was, hopefully the U.S. will do a save face campaign where they will have a attack that's meaningless against Syria, because if they try to have an extensive one, the one that Bolton and Trump wanted, then that would have the opportunity for an all-out war. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, thank goodness that they didn't do it. They had the not as extensive, but we're going to go over a lot of that, some lies that are very, very apparent that the U.S. told about what happened and what that means now. It is really the setup to where now the rest of the world realizes that the overall U.S. military is not as capable or competent as they were before in the past. Everybody has caught up. Everybody has caught up. And you're going to see what I mean by that. And it's self-evident. We just have to take a look at the evidence, and it paints the perfect picture. And that perfect picture is now, as one article said, that people in Syria slept through the attack. So some very, very meaningful things. We need to definitely take a look at that, and we will do that. So I want to, at any time, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call. Area code 704, sorry about that, 704-802-5056, 704-802-5056. There is a little reprieve right now, waiting to see if Russia will have a response to what the U.S. did and how it will definitely span out. But believe me, the war has already started. World War III has already started and is only going to expand. It's not going to go away. It is going to grow exponentially going forward here. You're going to definitely see that. But thank goodness it gives us, you and all of us, time to prepare. I did not want the actual event to happen Friday. Very, very close to that happening, though.
Hey, Dave, can you see the board?
Very, very close. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, are you on the board?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, I didn't know if you saw Ross there, but listen, I want to nominate Vladimir Putin for a Pulitzer Peace Prize.
Yes.
Because he seems to be the only adult on the scene. And they could have easily escalated that, as we have talked about over the past year or so, what's going on in Syria, and they did not. They're showing tremendous restraint.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree. Scotty, now I'm on the board and it just shows you and I. So if there's a caller that's on the board and you want to get in, I may not be able to see you because my board is not showing. So it's 704-802-5056. Yes, Scotty, I definitely agree. And I'm going to tell you, Russia had scrambled multiple attack aircraft to engage the naval armada that the U.S. had in the Mediterranean, and they had multiple aircraft ready to defend, not only to engage the guided missile cruisers, but also the submarines. They were definitely ready. And so we're going to get into that. And so there's some things that happen that can't be hidden if you just look at it. It's very, very obvious. So we're going to definitely get into that. So let's get into what's in the news. First article I posted, aside to Russia, MP, Syria no longer afraid of NATO after missile attack. According to Russian lawmakers, the Syrian president has praised the Soviet air defense systems, which he should, which helped Damascus repel 71 Western missiles. Russian members of the parliament and other officials had shed light on the meeting with celebrity figurehead President Bashar Assad, which came in the wake of the joint U.S., UK, and France missile strike on Syria. So definitely we're going to talk about that and take a look at some very, very important things. Next article from RT International, and what this definitely means, because we are in the aftermath. The overall confidence in the overall preference of the U.S. dollar is going to be significantly hit because of this attack. Because now the rest of the world no longer needs to be afraid of the U.S. military, because the U.S. doesn't have the overall bullying factor anymore in the world. And Syria has proven that, and I'm going to show you how. I'll show you why. Next article from RT International. Caught in a lie, U.S. and allies bombed the Syria night before the night before international inspectors were to arrive. Check out that article. Next article, got this one from Ledman, Stephen Ledman.org. Pentagon lied about overnight aggression on Syria. Check out that article. Then I also put a YouTube video showing one of the chemical buildings, so that they said one of the chemical, the so-called alleged chemical manufacturing or facility that chemical weapons or chemical grade weapons grade chemicals were being made at, and it shows the overall aftermath, the building itself. So check out that building is evidence of the truth. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a little while. Check out that article. Next article, I got this one from Russia Insider. Trump is done. Mattis won. Thank the gods. Check out that article. Yes, Mattis did win. Next article, Rise posted this one. Thousands of children apps and games potentially violate U.S. data sharing laws. Check out that article. Next article, Rise got this one from Cerebrally Naive Money, CNN Money. Trump contradicts own Treasury Department with China's currency tweet. Check out that article. Next article, Rise posted Turkey warns Greece after flag is hoisted on disputed isles. Check out that article. The whole world is really setting for a major, major confrontation, and these are some of the actual events that's going to be happening. Next article, I got this one from RT International. Russia oil producers to make money from Chinese yuan-backed crude futures. Check out that article. Next article I got from Sputnik News. U.S. to impose sanctions on Russia over support of Assad. Wait until you see when they start putting sanctions on the U.S. Next article, very important, great article. I got this one from the South China Morning Post. Attack plan, how the U.S. distracted Syria and Russia with warships. No, let me tell you something. They didn't, but they try that all the time, but believe me, they were well aware of it. Check out that article. Next article, I got this from the Daily Bell. The soft wars. Check out China's. This is China's unit, the PLA, the People's Liberation Army of China's, their cyber unit. Very, very extensive there. Check out that. Next article I got from the South China Morning Post. Kim Jong-un has America and China just where he wants them. Check out that article. Next one I got from the Global Intel Hub. Alert, Syria's first strike in World War III. Deep analysis. Very important. Check out that one. Next article, Rise posted this one, and says, and this came from Fox Business, lying like a fox business. Hundreds of passengers stranded when airline ends Mexican service. Check out that article. And Rise Post, I could see this happening when the stuff hits the fan. Yep, definitely. Next article, got this one from Bloomberg. U.S. offers $25 million cybersecurity grant after pipeline hacked. Pipeline's been hacked. Set up for with the new paradigm, and that's all going to be cyber attacks. Next article, and believe me, if U.S. would have targeted Russian airfields or that Russian shipyard or port inside of Syria, by today there would have been cyber attacks happening right now. You'd probably be locked out of your bank account, your credit cards wouldn't be working, and everything else. So, but that's on the horizon. It's definitely coming. Next article I got from Reuters. U.S. and the U.K. charge Russian-backed hackers of global cyber espionage. Why? Because all of the planting for the cyber wars have been done. Check out that article. Next article, Rise got this one. Japan found a huge rare earth mineral deposit that can supply the world for centuries. And Rise says Japan will be highly contested territories in the coming months and years. Yes, so true. Good article, Rise. Next one, I posted this one from Bloomberg. Yuan has become a safe haven. Uh-oh. What does that mean? The U.S. dollar isn't. Check out that article. Next article, Rise posted this one. It was from newsmax.com. It says, asteroid scrapes by Earth hours after being first spotted. Check out that article. Had to pull that one up real quick. Couldn't see it. Next article. This one came from Thomas from NYC. This one was the surprising global leaders of the G5 readiness. The surprising global leader of the G5 readiness. And this is, Thomas said this is how China is going to, how the U.S. is going to be eventually losing the tech war to China. Check out that article. Really good one. Next one, Rise posted this one from the Mini Press News.USA. How the U.S. occupied 30% of Syria, containing most of its oil, water, and gas. Yes, that is why this war is definitely going to happen, because they're going to have to get those guys, they're going to have to get them out of there because they're stealing. And there's I wonder if I could post it. There's someone sent me something, my buddy sent me something on Facebook showing why the U.S. is in Syria. And what it was just a huge trench. And this trench was probably over 400, maybe about 100 yards long, and it was probably about 10 feet wide, and it was full with oil that was coming up out of the ground. So they had struck oil there. So definitely. So check out that article. And a couple of more real quick. Oh, I lost my place. Let me, next article, Rise posted this is from Anti-Media. Putin predicts all hell will break loose if West attacks Syria again. Check out that article. Next article, Rise posted this one. Watch Russia predict a fake chemical attack. U.S. response before it happened. Check out that article, yes. And next one from Anti-Media, Rise posted China slams U.S. arrogance and strike against in Syrian strike backs Russia. So check out that article. So those are some of the things that are what's in the news. Definitely go into BTR community, be a member, check out those articles that everyone posted, everyone that posted. Thank you so much. And we want to jump into today's show. At any time, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 704-802-5056, 704-802-5056. And what I want to do, L.A. Ramon says they are not reporting that Russia, Syria shot down over 70 of the 130 missiles launched. Not a word yet confirmed where those others landed, if they were even made it to the target. What's really going on? So, yeah, let me just say this. What's really going on, great point. And my whole thing on this show is the evidence pretty much tells you everything. When they say that they shot down, now the French, the UK, and the US are said to have shot over, and Mattis has said in his own account, said that they doubled their overall cruise missile sorties this time in Syria. Well, the last time was 53. So that would be at least 106. But there was reports of 120 that they said that they originally shot. And they said that they were targeting three facilities, 120 cruise missiles, and some of the most new advanced ones that were supposedly used by B-1 bombers. Remember, Trump said they're going to be smart and new ones? Get ready, Russia. There's going to be smart. They're going to be new, smart missiles that are coming. Well, he was talking about a specific missile that the B-1 bomber that uses that has been highly thought of as not being operative, not being effective, not being efficient, high price tag, low production. All the technology in the world that doesn't work. So there was 120. Let's just use 120. So that means that each target that they admitted to saying that they were targeting, each target would have had 40 cruise missiles targeting them. Because they only said they had 3 targets, shot up 120 cruise missiles. That means 3 divided by 120 is 40. That means that 40 cruise missiles were supposed to be going to each target. Well, if 40 cruise missiles were going to each target, then there would be no targets left of those 3. And all 3 of those targets, you wouldn't even see any remnants of the facilities or the structures that were there before. The U.S. said that all of their targets, none of them were intercepted. You can see on YouTube where Syrian anti-aircraft missiles interceptors actually made actual impact going from the ground up in the air, and you heard the boom, the corresponding impact. So Syria, who do you believe? And the evidence tells you that what Russia and what Syria said is the truth. Here's how you can tell it's the truth. Let's take a look at, if you just would look at inside of Thando radio show, if you just look at from RT, in the U.S. news has been showing this too. They've been showing that one facility that they hit, and the building is demolished. The building is, but you still can see it. The remnants of the building structure is still there. It looks like only one cruise missile got through. The U.S. was lying by either sending over cruise missiles that was dropping hand grenades on them, or their cruise missiles didn't work, or the cruise missiles got shot down. The one that's probably the closest to the truth is that out of those 120, only very few of the U.S.'s cruise missiles got through Syrian defenses because the impacts don't show. The evidence shows that they were hardly touched at all in comparison to what they were going to be going up against. If all of those cruise missiles would have got through, there would have been just a big hole in the ground. Nothing as far as a building that you could ever look at and say was there. There would be no remnants of the building, and the building structure is still there. Yes, it's fell in a couple of places. Like I said, that looks like one cruise missile got through. Or unless they were sending over super weak cruise missiles, then all 40 of them could have impacted, but they only had the overall high explosive on them that is really minimum at best because that building is still there. Everything around it. There's no 40 cruise missiles. All their cruise missiles didn't get through. So what's more the truth? The truth is that Syria, with the Russian technology, was able to intercept the U.S.'s cruise missiles, Britain's and France. This is why, in this article from Sputnik News, Syria ain't scared of NATO no more. So what does that mean? They're going to be moving to get those U.S. troops out of there soon enough, militarily. This whole thing is not over at all. So here's the article real quick. Here's the article real quick from Sputnik News. 1 second, let me. In the video, show it. This is from the 15th, yesterday. According to Russian lawmakers, the Syrian president had praised Soviet air defense systems, which helped Damascus repel 71 Western missiles, meaning that of that, probably 29 or 30 of them did get through. Where did they go? Who knows? They may have missed, they may have done this and that, and they also have proof where they shot these missiles, where they shot them down. Russian members of parliament and other officials have shed light on the meeting with President of Syria, Bashar Assad, which came in the wake of a joint U.S., UK, French missile strike on Syria. They sent them, and this is just me, they sent their missiles up and all of them got repelled. According to Governor, during the meeting with the Russian lawmaker, Assad slammed the West strike on Syria as aggressive. As the Russian State Duma law stated that Damascus praised Soviet arms made in the 70s, which were used to repel the missile attack carried out by the U.S. and its allies. And according to President Bashar Assad, the viewpoint is that the attack was aggressive, and we share this position and has highly appreciated Russians' weapons, which show supremacy over the arms of the aggressors. So now, in the interim, now Israel is quite upset because Russia is sending over their S-300 defense systems, missile defense system. Israel had bombing raids on Syria. With the S-300 and the amount of that they're going to get, they won't be able to do that no more and get through. They will be shooting more Israeli aircraft down because the S-300 is pretty competent. Now, I believe that the Russians now have S-700, S-800 technology, and this is critical. Absolutely critical. Why is this so important? Because now the rest of the world's military knows what this means. They look at those buildings and they know exactly what that means. Those buildings shouldn't even be on a map. They should be totally annihilated. With all of this and everybody here in the United States have been talking about, they said there was a mission accomplished and everything else and all this other stuff. Let me tell you, the U.S. think they bombed Syria, but the U.S. bombed. And the rest of the world knows it now. And the rest of the world is going to respond to that accordingly. And this is what I think that they're going to do. We're not scared of your military might anymore. So since we're not afraid of your military might anymore, we don't have to take the deals, the ultimatums that you give us anymore. You don't even have a cause to give ultimatums anymore. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to cause a major war. Major, 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 major. Because they were ineffective. Completely. Should have not, just by them attacking Syria, just by their troops being in country, they violate all of the so-called written laws, international laws of sovereignty. But see, the U.S. was able to get away with that before in the past because they had the overall economic finances to do it and the military to back it. They don't have the military to back it anymore. You can't win a battle with airstrikes. Airstrikes is used to augment. Now, let me tell you something. They darn sure can't invade Syria. This is the truth, and the evidence speaks for it. So what the Syrians and Russia said is the truth. What the U.S. has told everybody here is all the lies and propaganda. Why would you believe them anyway? They've never told you to prepare and they're setting you up to be the bearer of, or the burden bearer of their economic collapse. This was a major blow to the U.S. military, even though the Pentagon denied the information saying that every missile hit its target. That may be true. Maybe they put those cruise missiles up, the other 71 up in air to provide cover for the one or two that was going to get through. In that case, job well done. Effective? Absolutely not. Efficient? Absolutely not. Relevant? Nope. Meaning you lost the war already. And this is what Mattis and Dunsford knew, that they weren't ready, nor could they deal with the Russians and everyone else that was backing the Russians at that time. So, kudos, possibly, to Mattis and Dunsford. I'm going to tell you something about one thing I do know about some of the individuals in the Marine Corps. It's where Smedley Butler came from. Smedley Butler said all war is a racket. Most decorated Marine ever. If anybody is going to stand up to and say no, it's probably going to be somewhere around there. Why? Don't always agree with it, but Smedley Butler, within the officer ranks, within the Marine Corps, is highly respected. And he actually prevented a coup in the U.S. Very, very significant. Very, very significant. So glad that happened, and I'm not surprised at that chance for that. So very, very telling. So I think we have a caller in queue. I'm not quite sure. I can't see the board. If there's a caller in queue, welcome to Thando Radio Show. What's your name and where you're calling from, and what is your question or comment?
Okay, I'm guessing that's me.
Yeah, that's you, Jenna. Yeah, it kept popping out, Jenna. Sorry about that. Go ahead, brother.
No worries. I wanted to speak to the boats. Well, excuse me, the ships that the U.S. ran into. I did 3 med cruises when I was in the U.S. Navy. I was a machinist mate, which is a bosun mate and a machinist mate put together. A machinist mate took care of the shaft of a steam-propelled ship, and a bosun mate made sure that they had all of the man, I'm having a brain fart right now, but they made sure that all of, like, the life rafts, the little circles that float, you know, they made sure that all of those things was on the boat and what have you. So when you combine those two, you have everything that you need to have to save a person that's floating in the Russian Sea, alongside of air conditioning, heat, and all of those type of things. Whether you're talking about having ice, hot weather within inside of the ship and what have you, if it's freezing outside or what have you. The air conditioning, they take care of the air conditioning, and then the other one takes care of the propulsion, meaning that you have enough coal and what have you to propel the boat to wherever you're going. Mm-hmm. Before I got into trouble, I've always been a known troublemaker no matter where I've been. So before I got into trouble, I was getting ready to get into the aviation side of the ship. What happened is that while I was trying to get promoted to go to the aviation side, I was talking to different senior chiefs and what have you, because that's what we have. We don't have staff sergeants and what have you in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
We have senior chiefs and so on. Well, a few of the people that I was friends with, they always let me know that when they do their sonars, there was always ships in the areas where we were traveling in, and we would travel like 20 ships deep. So there were always ships, so it's not surprising that the Russians was already there. It's just the fact that they're letting the public know is something that we need to be aware of, because this is stuff that's normally not exposed to the public. So that's one thing. I think that's a reason to go to war, because all of these ships, whether we're talking about off the coast of Africa or off the coast, off the coast of Europe, they're always there when we're approaching. They're always there, but they don't ever let this be known to the worldwide public. So that's one thing. Another thing is that Brother Thomas had put an article out on BTR. I think it was Brother Thomas, and he was talking about Israel bombing Syria. And I don't know how many of you have went and know what a border is and what have you, but Syria and Israel are right there together. Syria they have a border with Israel, and he was making a correlation as far as Israel trying to expand their territory. And this is one of the ways that they could expand, is by taking over Syria. It would allow them to go into the Islamic states of the so-called Middle East. So all of these things play a part. You really need to click on to some of those articles that be in BTR, because they make you aware of a whole bunch of stuff that you will not see on the mainstream media. I just want to throw that out there real quick, and I'll put myself on mute. I have so much to say. Some of it don't have nothing to do with the program, so I'm going to just be quiet and wait for my chance to slide back in. Thank you
David,
again for taking my call.
David, you may want to just refresh the conference board, or go in or come back, go out and come back in. But if I'm not mistaken, the Golan Heights is Syria, which is part of the occupied territories Israel has been occupying since 1967.
Right, Scotty. Yeah, and they are trying to they did bomb Syria a day or two before. It's not the first time, and this whole thing is going to explode. Scotty, I logged back in. This whole thing, I can see the board perfectly now. Thanks, Scotty. This whole thing is definitely going to implode into World War III. Then I definitely believe it's going to go into global nuclear war 1. So this Syria was capable of defending itself from the cruise missile attack that was put together by the ensemble of U.S., France, and Britain. And now all of this, remember this. Who was it that invaded Libya with the U.S.? France. What did they do with their gold? Stole their gold, sent it to Venezuela, because Chavez had wanted to repatriate his gold. So they gave him the gold, gave him cancer, and then caused the economy to collapse. And all the gold that they got back, they had to sell back into the market because of that. All of this stuff correlates together, and it all goes together. And I just want to, as Scotty said, big ups to, but I think it's all part of the thing, but big ups to Putin and the rest of the world for those that are not putting up with the overall U.S. Germany said they don't want to have nothing to do with it. Italy said, nope, you can't use our our air bases to take off from. No, we will have no parts of that. This is going to be the fracturing of NATO. But there are going to be some events. This ain't it. It is definitely going to come, and I definitely think it's going to be something that's quick. Something that's quick and right away. It won't be the build-up now. It won't be the build-up. Quick, quick, quick. But what I really want to do is, you know that the U.S. is lying, because every war that the U.S. has ever gotten into has always been by a false flag. The false flag of this one was not just the Syrian gas, the allegations of a Syrian gas attack on the people in Ghouta, but it goes back to 2014 when celebrity figurehead Obama was president, and they tried to use that same chemical gas attack again. Then now they've done that here in 2018. And if you look at the overall history of the United States, they've been doing that since their inception. And this is a long history of, and these are the things that we need to know. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to go over some of those. We need to know these things so that we can see where we are and what's coming down the line. What's coming down the line, ladies and gentlemen, is that the U.S. is about to get its hat handed to them, economically, geopolitically, and militarily. And we're going to be the burden bearers of that, unless you know and you act off what you know. Thank goodness this whole thing didn't continue to go, but it ain't over. This is the worst thing that the U.S. could do was attack Syria, and they had already committed to it from the very beginning. The wisest thing that they could have done was not involve themselves in that false flag. But see, they had no choice, because Syria is going to be pivotal for oil and natural gas and the overall pipelines that are going to be built from there. And whoever controls that will control resources. And whoever controls the resources, they tell the economy what to do and what direction to go. And the U.S. has lost its place there, and they won't be able to do it. And Syria, Russia, Iran, they know what's up. Yeah, you can steal some oil. You can steal some oil, but you won't be able to take it all. And I'm going to tell you something about oil. Oil is the earth's lifeblood. It provides the overall, the same thing like our blood does to me. It provides for the overall earth to live as a living species, a living entity. We know it's a living entity. We just haven't been schooled that way, so we don't think about that. Oil, there's no oil came from dinosaurs. That's such garbage, and we believe the stupidest things. Total garbage. Oil is abiotic. Abiotic, meaning the earth produces it. Earth produces water. Earth produces oil. Now, they haven't taught you, and the system hasn't taught you those kinds of truths because they don't want you to know. Because then you would have a good perspective of what is a resource. And if you know what resources are, then you will seek them. And all those that have resources get the intrinsic value of those resources that they can use in their overall life. You can be sustainable. You can be sovereign. But they got some freedom to give you. Freedom means you have to surrender your sovereignty and obey first. So, listen, get ready to go to a commercial break. I didn't, because I got in a little late. Scotty, if we could take just a 5-minute break so I can get my articles ready to go, and then we'll jump back into it. Listen, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 704-802-5056, 704-802-5056. You're listening to Thando Radio Show. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
motherfuckers is just like professional liars, you know what I'm saying? It's wild. Listen, Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the towers. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the towers. Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the towers. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the towers.
I pledge no allegiance, nigga. Fuck the president's speeches. I'm baptized by America and covered in leeches. The dirty water that bleaches your soul and your facial features, drowning you in propaganda that they spit through the speakers. And if you speak about the evil that the government does, the Patriot Act to track you to the type of your blood. They try to frame you and say you was trying to sell drugs and throw a federal indictment on niggas to show you love. This shit is run by fake Christians, fake politicians. Look at their mansions and look at the conditions you live in. All they talk about is terrorism on television. They tell you to listen, but they don't really tell you their mission. They funded Al-Qaeda and now they blame the Muslim religion. Even though Bin Laden was a CIA tactician, they gave him billions of dollars and they funded his purpose. Fahrenheit 9/11, that's just scratching the surface.
You are tuned in to the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave, from L.A., coming to you live, FEMA Region number 6. Give us a call, 704, 704-802-5056, 704-802-5056. If you have a question or comment, that is so true. What you heard is very true. We've been lied to completely, and by us buying these deceptions harm us in the greatest way. And I always say, blind faith is always the first step to genocide. We are giving this overall system blind faith that they have our best intentions at hand, and they don't. They prove it over and over again. So what I want to do is just give you some historical perspective as to how false flags are used to start major global confrontations. In my opinion, all of the governments do it, but this government particularly is very effective and efficient at it because it schools its citizens to the fullest. So what I want to do is I want to go over some of those false flag events so that you can see that these recent ones are going to have the same result as the former ones. And we need to know these things because that is going to be critical for us moving forward so that we'll say, okay, it's time for us to do something totally different. Completely. Okay? So, there's a, one second. I want to go over some historical events, all right? And it's very, very important that these senseless wars are being fought and materialized. And it's really a depopulation program and a measure to control the masses. And they teach you from the very beginning of your young, as soon as you go to school, was the first thing that they try to teach you, the pledge to their allegiance. Think about what that thing says. And they do it to children, and because young people are so impressionable.
Wait a minute, Dave. Hold up, Dave. They do it to adults, too. That's what the whole, why Kaepernick has not been signed and Eric Reed has not been signed. I mean, think about that. I want y'all listeners to think about this. If you got a 9-to-5 job, let's say you work at a manufacturing plant. What if when you go in for your shift, everybody is made to stand in silence and put your hand over your heart and pledge and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Would you tolerate that? Would you think that's right? So, Dave, that's what the whole national anthem thing at sporting events is about. It's about forcing adults to do it.
That's absolutely right. It's idolatry. It's total idolatry. And believe me, these people will have you in and trust in the God that they put before you. The God that they put before you is the one that they made. And they make you pay allegiance to it from the earliest age so that it becomes second nature to you. This is why they'll tell you to go defend your country. Go fight for your country. He died for his country, or she died for her country. How moronic. How stupid are we? We allow these political serial killers to legitimize the mass murder of people, and we worship it, and we don't even think about worshiping it. You're giving it more energy to create and do more sacrifices, and at some point they're going to put you as the burnt offering, and they do it daily. See, the system doesn't care about color. The system cares about allegiance. You pledge your life to it. And in pledging your life, they can do whatever they want to you, and it's all right. And you think it's patriotic. Being patriotic is a form of mental illness. By the way in the stands that is put before everybody. And it's completely okay with people. That's because a bunch of people are just mentally ill around here. And if everybody's sick, then I guess everybody's well. Think about what that pledge says. And why they see, we think there's just an innocent thing. There is nothing innocent about these people getting you to commit, invoke, submit your free will to the overall system. Think about if a pimp was able to do that to women. What would that pimp have that woman do? But what if those same tactics weren't just used against women, but is used against all of humanity? What type of environment would that look like? What would the people do? The people will do you. Everything that we've been taught. It's working perfectly for them. Perfectly. You got people so detached, so brainwashed. They are fully committed to the cult of demise. And they start this overall cult worship at the earliest ages as they possibly can. Because in order for this to work, they can't have any challengers. They can't have anyone challenging their overall existence. Can't have anyone challenging their stability. Because if anyone challenges and questions it, maybe, just maybe, they'll have knowledge of what's good and what's evil. And they don't want them to know the difference between good and evil. Because then you're responsible for what you know. It's all a setup. But I want to go over a couple of things in history. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 704-802-5056. couple of false flags that have been used in the past. Want to go to that this country has used. And once one thing works, they repeat it over and over and over again. Because they know that this generation doesn't remember the generation before, or so on, because their overall schooling is the only thing that people recite. See, schools teach you to recite what you've been taught. Education allows you to think for yourself and have a base of knowledge for you to maintain your ability to take care of yourself, sustainability. Schooling doesn't do that for you. Here we go. The Spanish-American War of 1898. It was February the 15th, 1898. The USS Maine exploded with a crew of 354 on board, killing 266 of them. While the Spanish government insisted, wait, hold on, we didn't sink that ship. That thing blew up. It was on fire. It caught fire on the ship itself. You know what the U.S. said? No, Spain did it. And then celebrity figurehead President McKinley then declared war on Spain on April the 25th of 1898. And what really happened was that there was actually a bomb on the USS Maine. How and they admitted to it years and years later. You know why they admitted to it years and years later? Because the people that it was affecting and subjugating and enslaving back then were no longer around. So we don't need to hold that one anymore. In 1976, a team of naval explosion experts examined the evidence and collaborated in collaboration with the Spanish claims that the USS Maine sinking was caused by an internal explosion from the ammunition being stored on board. Put a bomb in the ammunition magazine. That's what sunk the Maine. And the Maine was used to declare war on Spain. World War I, 1915. Very important. There was the U.S. did finally enter the first war was opposed by most Americans from the start. World War I was opposed by most Americans from the start, as they rightly saw it as a power struggle between European aristocrats that had no business in it. This was established for the British military that was led by Winston Churchill, as they were desperate to get the United States behind them in the war. The U.S. finally did enter the war in 1915. When a U.S. ship called the Lusitania was sent through hostile waters as bait, filled with more than 1,000 civilians and an unusually large amount of ammunition. The ship was hit by a German torpedo and exploded instantly due to all of the ammunition on board, killing more than half of the passengers and crew. A week before...
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Hold
on. Let me finish. Wait. Let me finish this. A week before the sinking of the Lusitania, Churchill wrote to Walter Rinsman, the president of the Board of Trade, stating this: most important attraction, neutral ships to our shore. It is most important to attract neutral ships to our shores in hopes, especially of embroidering the United States with Germany. So what did he say? We need to bring the U.S. ships into our ports, into our shores, so we can get them. If we get them, then we can get the United States in war with us. So, 1 second. Be right there, Jerry. 1 sec, Jenna. After investigating the tragedy, former British Naval Intelligence said, unless and until fresh information comes to light, I'm reluctantly driven to the conclusion that there was a conspiracy deliberately to put the Lusitania at risk in hope that it would even and abruptly attack would have the United States enter into the war. Such a conspiracy couldn't be put into effect without Churchill's express permission and approval. And once the Lusitania was sunk, the U.S. entered the war against Germany. And remember what they did. They loaded it up with people and loaded it up with ammunition so that when that British sub hit it, it would definitely sink and explode. So, real quick, we're going to go to Jenna. Go ahead, Jenna. What say you?
Yeah, I was just saying, early on in my career, as far as doing a radio show, I used to always talk about the art of war, and that was an art of war tactic. You know, they sent people that they deemed as expendable to go out there and to be killed. And, you know, we have the same things that's going on. Excuse my son. He down here with me, so I had to step outside. He down here bouncing.
Oh no, you good?
Trying to get his skills up. You know, he just 6, so he down here doing what he be doing. But that's an art of war tactic, and that's why I used to employ different sections of the art of war into the program, because all of these things are still being intact. And you say it all the time, the art of war, the book of the art of war is older than the Bible. So these things have been enacted several years, several centuries, and they're still being enacted right now today. And a lot of us don't know nothing about it. This is a book that costs almost nothing compared to what we spend on frivolous things, but this book will let us know about some of the tactics that's being enacted on us today. I just wanted to add that real quick, brother, and I put myself back on mute. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, so true. These are definitely art of war tactics. And the art of war is this. The art of war should really be, and I would say in today's art of war, is the war against you, the everyday people. Governments don't go to war with each other. They've understood that overall art. The key to that is to cause, let me tell you something. The politicians need war so that the people will be crying to them for solutions. The politicians need disdain, calamity, turmoil. They need confusion so that the people will say, what are you going to do about this? Well, you keep asking the politicians what they're going to do about it, you're going to continue to receive exactly what you've been receiving and more. Because by you asking and participating in the system, that's what keeps it alive. And it's going to do what it was designed to do. Every form of government is nothing more than a snake with venom that's ready to bite. And we continue to have those venomous fangs in our veins of life. And they continue to pump the poison in. And it deteriorates our ability to live. Sovereign, self-determined. Within peace beyond anything that we've ever known before. With the ability to create Class 1, Class 2, Class 3 societies. So, it's definitely a part of the plan. Next one, World War II, 1941. The history books suggest that Pearl Harbor was an unprovoked attack, killing thousands of Americans and forcing the government to enter a war that was extremely unpopular at the time. You want to hear this whole thing? Extremely unpopular at the whole time. This is going to be the constant thing that you're going to hear. Extremely unpopular, extremely unpopular. So what do they have to do when they know that the people will not stand for in blind faith and allegiance to the company? They have to make something that's unpopular. They have to get everybody behind it. And how do they do it? False flags. It's the preferred method of choice because it's worked so well before. However, the United States government was exacting strict sanctions on both Japan and Germany. And talked about this before, what really happened. Hoping that either country would make the first move and give them the excuse to enter the war. What's another thing that they do? They impose sanctions. What are they trying to do to Syria? What are they trying to do to Russia? What are they going to be trying to do to China? Impose sanctions? A tariff is a sanction. It's a geopolitical act of war that leads to a military confrontation in acts of war. Not only was the attack provoked, both Roosevelt and the U.S. military knew the attack was coming and moved their most expensive aircrafts to other locations while leaving the thousands of people as sacrificial pawns. The history books also sell the war story against the Nazis as a humanitarian war to save the people from the Holocaust. But the U.S. denied safe passage to Jewish refugees, and UK intelligence even planned to blow up refugee ships in a plot called Operation Embarrass to get the U.S. into the war. But the U.S. was already fully into this. The U.S. had actually sanctioned Japan because they wouldn't go along with the economic development plan that would benefit the U.S. handsomely. So they had put sanctions on Japan and embargoed Japan, meaning they wouldn't let ships go into Japan. And if Japan doesn't get oil, its economy dies. The people will die. Because Japan does not produce oil. They're an island. They have to have everything shipped in. So once they had the embargo, wouldn't let ships in, that was an act of war. What do you think Japan was going to do? And they knew exactly what Japan was going to do. So they gave them a clear lane and a clear runway to attack Pearl Harbor. And as I said here before, for those of you that have been to Pearl Harbor, you know how close the residential community is to Pearl Harbor itself. When the Japanese pilots came in, they were actually waving at the civilians on the ground. Didn't fire one shot, didn't engage one house. But were there civilian homes that were damaged in Pearl Harbor? Yes. That's from the anti-aircraft shells that was falling on the houses and the rounds that was going in between in that overall confrontation. Japan never ever fired on any of the residential areas. They attacked the overall military ships that was in harbor and flew back. What did the U.S. do? Drop 2 nuclear devices on the people of Japan.
Hey, Dave, I can
happen
attest.
To be living there.
I can attest to what you saying. I was stationed in Hawaii for 3 years. Lived in Schofield Barracks. Some of the barracks still had some of the bullet holes. And I worked on Wheeler's Air Force Base because I was
wow.
attached to an aviation unit, attack helicopter unit, and what have you. And but you're right. You know, I'm always been a history buff, and when I was there, I went to everything. I talked to people, and no, they did not attack civilians. They attacked military targets.
Yep. And what did the U.S. do? They had the greatest form of terrorism this world has known in its modern history. They used weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons of mass destruction, on innocent people that had nothing to do with Pearl Harbor. And they dropped 2 nuclear devices on the people. And now they're going to try to... This is why they say that Assad was gassing his own people, because they've been doing that their whole existence. This is what governments do. See, this is the truth that the historians and the people, the excuse makers, what I love about today is people are so naive and foolish. They make excuses for all the conspiracy agendas. So why do these people, they don't even need it. They tell you everything. Yeah, because we got a bunch of idiots that'll run around and make excuses for us. The U.S. has always been the greatest purveyor of terror. They did it in their pinnacle moment was Japan. And they're going to say, well, it was at war. We were at war. Well, when Japan engaged the U.S. military, they hit a military installation. The difference? The U.S., the greatest purveyor of terror, dropped 2 bombs, nuclear devices, not on any military base, on people. Then later on they say, oh, we can't do that anymore. Because they wanted to send a message to the rest of the world that whatever we say now goes. And all of this is the truth. There's no historian that can argue that point. And if any historian does argue that point, it's because you're full of American bull. And you're defending the most immoral, corrupt, demonically intentioned cult that's ever been on this, that's been around for a little while. And this is the truth. There's nothing honorable about it. And it's taken honorable people to be schooled, so thoroughly schooled to believe this lie that they will compromise their morality for someone else's malevolent agenda. Fools. It's the truth. Next one. The Korean War, 1950. The propaganda of the war has led many to believe that North Korean government had launched an unprovoked attack on South Korea on behalf of the larger communist powers of Russia and China. Yet once more, this is another case of where the U.S. was propping up a dictator to fight another. Where have you seen that before? In an attempt to gain control of the entire continent, all the while lying to the people back home about the true motives for war. Here was the true motives. On February the 8th, 1948, the South Korean president met with the ambassador John Muko and Secretary of the Army Chief C. Royal in Seoul. Here the Korean president listed the following as justification for initiating a war with the North. The South Korean military could easily be increased by 100,000 if it drew from the 150 to 200,000 Koreans who had recently fought with the Japanese or the nationalist Chinese. Moreover, the morale of the South Korean military was greater than the morale of the South Korean military was greater than the North Koreans. If war broke out, he He expected mass defectors from the enemy. He expected people to leave North Korea and flood into South Korea. Finally, the United Nations recognition of the South Korean legitimacy. It ruled over the entire peninsula as stipulated in its constitution. Thus, he concluded there was nothing to be gained by waiting. So they started the attack and lied on North Korea. Now, why was that so important to control North Korea? Because North Korea is mineral rich. Next one, the Vietnam War. I like to say the Korean War is the American War of 1950, and the so-called Vietnam War is the American War of 1964. They call it the Vietnam War, but no, it was the U.S. that caused the overall confrontation. Here we go. Information released in 2005 by the National Security Agency showed that the Gulf of Tonkin incident in August of 1964 was deliberately falsified to make it appear that the North Korean gunboats attacked an American destroyer patrolling in international waters, when in reality they didn't. This was the event that the U.S. military used as an excuse to go into war and to attack Vietnam. Same tactics, different year, same And it was surrounded by the mystery and controversy until decades later when the official facts was released. It's now been more than 45 years since the U.S. withdrew the last of its combat troops from Vietnam, and its last prisoners of war were held in North Vietnam, returned to the U.S. soil. According to estimates, more than 2 million civilians and 1.1 million North Vietnamese and Viet Cong fighters, 250 South Vietnamese fighters, and nearly 58,000 U.S. military members were killed in that confrontation in Vietnam during the war. All because of lies that were used to create propaganda that made America fear for its safety. Where do you see this? You see this in the overall policing of America as well. Whenever they say it's in our best interest, we are protecting our interests, we're in fear of this, that is bull. You lie so you can attack. And all of the citizens back here have been so naively deceived and fooled, they are dumbedified to history. That they're destined to repeat it. Listening to Thando Radio Show. Getting ready to go to a commercial break. Give us a call, 704-802. 5056, 704-802-5056 if you'd like to get in on the conversation. Listen to Thando Radio Show. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Make Black Talk Radio your choice for digital black radio. New black media for the new millennium.
I am not on the board. I can't see. Let me refresh it. My computer is going out. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 704-802-5056. So whenever somebody tries to tell you about the U.S. and all of its wars, tell them they're all lies. And they actually admitted to all of these lies. But we're so foolishly naive to believe the propaganda of everything that's said. All they have to do is put propaganda out. We've become the propaganda prostitutes. And we stay on a stroll. And they're destroying our children with this. Collecting and seizing birthrights by people surrendering to them. Making themselves appear what they're not. Creating a false demigod and making you have trust in it. Obey it. Worship it. Uphold its overall adjudication and maintain and surrender yourself to his jurisdiction. And if we don't do something different, we're going to keep getting the same and more. Next false flag, Libya, 1984, then in 2015.
Don't you mean 2011?
Very important. What's that, Scotty?
Libya, that was 2011.
Yep. 2011, it was 1984, and both 2011 and 2015. They did multiple things in Libya because Libya was strategically important. Here we go. Former Mossad agent Victor Alglowski admitted that Mossad planted a radio transmitter in the Libyan Prime Minister Muammar Gaddafi's compound in Tripoli, which broadcasted fake terrorist transmissions that were recorded by Mossad and used to frame Gaddafi as a terrorist supporter. Then celebrity figurehead President Reagan bombed Libya immediately after the false reports. But this was not the first or the last time that the U.S. will involve itself in Libya. Why did they hate Muammar Gaddafi so much? Because Muammar Gaddafi, as a colonel in the Lebanese Air Force, when there was a coup, took over, one of the first things that he did was he nationalized all of the oil and kicked the overall oil companies out. This infuriated the corporations. And some of the corporations were owned by some of the oil moguls known as the Hunt family. Same Hunt family that still owns the Kansas City Chiefs today. They couldn't get their oil fields back and their oil back, and their revenues were cut, and they knew that this would bankrupt them. So what did the Hunt brothers do? They came up with an ingenious idea. They went to Muammar Gaddafi, realizing they were outmaneuvered, and say, "Hey, Muammar, how about this? We know the system is screwing us, screwing you, and screwing everybody else. Why don't we do something about it? And if we corner the silver market, we can destroy the economic cabal." Gaddafi agreed, assisted the Hunt brothers, as well as the president of the Philippines at the time, and as well as a unknown royal crown prince of Saudi Arabia, who I think is king now, said yes. And they started that overall campaign. Muammar Gaddafi was marked for death from right there. It goes on. As the Freedom Thought Project has reported, 3,000 emails from former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton released by the State Department contain damaging evidence of Western nations using NATO as a tool to overthrow Gaddafi. Why did they want to overthrow Gaddafi? Because Gaddafi knew, and Gaddafi was actively engaging in trying to get the continent on a gold dinar standard, where the rest of the world would have to give something of value in order to get anything out of Africa. And all of that was going to be an asset-based economy based off of gold. And that would be the biggest threat to the U.S. dollar hegemony ever. He did it with the Hunt brothers. We're starting it again. They tried to bribe him off, pay him off, wouldn't go along with it. This is some of the stuff they don't tell you about Gaddafi. Because all of the things that they tell you are lies brought forward by those that couldn't bribe them into submission. So now, NATO overthrow. Once NATO overthrew Gaddafi and his administration, and they said that it was for the protection of the people, but instead it thwarted Gaddafi's attempt to create the African currency backed by gold that would compete with Western central bank monopoly. Here's why that was so important. Because in doing that, Libya creates, along with Nigeria, they create the most light sweet crude oil in the world. And because of that, oil doesn't need to be refined practically at all. Canada produces oil sands. It is very dirty, very difficult to get into a petroleum use. Gaddafi oil, Libya's oil, and Nigeria's oil, light sweet crude, just turn it on and you're ready to go. So the overall cost to refine it is far less to nothing at all. So it's top shelf. That'll help. It's top shelf. So it goes on. As per usually, it's not the first time the U.S. The U.S. and its Western counterpart left the country to its own devices and slashed the once thriving national economy to the ground. And then there was a quote from a Virginia state senator. Richard Black told RT, "Today there is no government of Libya. It's simply mobs that patrol the streets and kill one another," because that's what they created. That's what they created. They've been after Muammar Gaddafi for a very long time. His whole time, false flags, complete lies. You lie. It means that they will continue to lie. Next one. Iraq, 1990. Wait, I think we had a caller in queue. Was there a caller in queue?
Yeah, Brother
Yep.
Dave, I just wanted to ask a real quick question real quick.
Yes.
With this being said, is that because I'm right along with you, and it's really not a question for me, it's more of a question for the listeners. With this being let loose, well, no, I shouldn't say that because that's an analogy. What you saying is, does that mean that, okay, we have these specific issues with Syria, Russia, China? Is this what you're saying right now? Is this to let us know about the other wars that will be joined in with the war that we're getting ready to get into because of some of the not necessarily oil reserves, but just the minerals and the natural resources on the rest of the planet that we're going I shouldn't say that either, but that the United States government are going to engulf other people into this war because of that, because we know that Russia has repatriated their gold, and possibly people here within the states, namely Texas and California. With all of this that's being said, are we going to engulf them and other countries around the world into this war based off of the natural resources that are available that the government of the United States wants?
Yeah, without these resources, the U.S. becomes no longer relevant. The U.S. has lost control of these resources. And whoever controls these resources, oil controls nations. When you control oil, you control nation. When you control resources, you control the people of the world. And what's happening, in my opinion, is that the system realizes that every so often they like to have a sacrificial lamb. They like to sacrifice people in order to maintain their overall control and power. It is a demonic seance that they go through and a ritual practice that they go through. They want to have blood and destruction so that they can stay in power. And they firmly believe by having these sacrificial rituals that they will be able to maintain power. And I'm going to tell you something about it. Regardless of what you think about them, they've come together and they've decided to do this, and it's been working like clockwork throughout the years. So right now, I think the system realizes that every so often they have to have an empire change. And they're going to change this empire influence. It's going to go from the west to the far east. That way they still stay in control. So how do you do that? You have to project one country as, over the years, to exhaust the overall patience and willingness of all the other nations. Have them steal everything, have a lavish lifestyle and everything else, have them being able to take while others have to give, and then there will be a hate that will fester. And then you use that hate to create and to start a war, and the people will gladly pick up arms under the banner of their flag and regalia and will pledge their whole life to it. And then they'll come up with some crazy bullcrap and say that you're fighting for your country. And all you're doing is you're killing people that you don't even know. And they're trying to kill you, and they don't know you. Under what? Under the colors of a flag. How foolish. But this is the game. And this is what they indoctrinate every single person in all of their schools. And their schools aren't just in America. Their schools are everywhere. Their schools is what they're doing to make you civilized. It makes you barbaric at nature. So that's what this is all about. It's the empire. All empires die because they're raising the new one. The U.S. time is over. They need to bring up a new beacon of freedom, and that new beacon of freedom is coming out of the East. Because by doing it that way, they never get questioned. Because it's on TV. You're an American. You hate these people. Why? Because the people you elected said that they've been trying to kill you. And they come up with all this propaganda, and we believe this nonsense. It's a very, very effective stage, and it runs perfectly because everybody's reading the script. So that's what I see and why they use these false flags. There's no such thing as what they've been telling you. It's been created, and it lives because we give energy to it. There is no such thing as the United States of America. There's a corporation of the United States of America, but that is not a living entity. Something that's made up by man. And then it becomes relevant once we give energy to it. It can't live without our energy. We give our whole blood, our whole existence, our whole constitution to it. We pledge allegiance to it. We got another caller in queue. Caller out of NYC. I believe it's Thomas. Welcome, caller out of NYC. What say you?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Thomas? How you feeling?
Oh man, tired, brother. Tired, man. One more day,
What say
man.
you,
One more day.
You right?
No, I'm talking, busy season at work, tax season, one more day.
Oh, yeah, it's right, tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I did have something to say earlier, but that's totally off topic. I don't want to go off topic. I just wanted to say, when you was talking about Vietnam, in 2016 and then again in 2017, the heroin epidemic here killed more people than the entire Vietnam War. The 50-something thousand soldiers, they were over 65,000 heroin deaths last year. I just thought that when you was reading those numbers, that popped in my head. That's why I chimed back in.
Right. And see, the whole war on drug is a false flag. You can't forget about that. The whole war on drug is a complete false flag. Lies, lies, lies. The war on poverty is a lie. The false flag. Completely. So, we got others, but because of the interest of time, we're going to be running out of time for right now. But we'll pick this back up. And I'm going to tell you, just in closing, all this is set up for the quality of life and standard of living that is everyone is accustomed to here. It's going to be lost. That's the whole setup. Without it, the system, without that sacrifice, the system will not be able to exist, because people will start to question and say, wait a minute. You're lying. And you're using this propaganda to get me to act a certain way. So if I don't listen to your propaganda, and if I damn sure don't act the way that what your objective is, and by means of your methods, that means that you won't exist. That means I'll see how powerless you are, because all the power that you have is what I give you in surrenderance. I refuse to give you any more. Then watch what we can create then. So, just want to say thank you, everyone, all of the callers, Jerry, Thomas, and thank you all for participating in today's show. It's never goodbyes, always we'll see you later. And before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. Much love, much respect. We'll talk to you soon. Brother Braggs, if you would be so kind to chime us out, I greatly appreciate it, brother. Peace, peace. Melanated Roots coming on right after Thando Radio Show. Stick around for that.
Gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.